Allegedly, Robert Downey Jr. thinks the Marvel formula has grown boring and outdated, and he may be ready to leave it all behind. The whispers suggest that the actor, who became the face of the franchise as Iron Man, is no longer thrilled by the superhero spotlight. After years of redefining blockbuster cinema, he's said to be craving fresh, riskier roles beyond the Marvel universe. If the rumors hold weight, this could be the most shocking twist the MCU has faced yet, losing the man who started it all. Now Marvel's biggest comeback has turned into a disaster. Robert Downey Jr.'s shocking return was supposed to save the MCU, but instead it sparked chaos, fan outrage, and whispers that Avengers, Doomsday has already been canceled. The question now isn't whether Marvel can make another hit, it's whether the studio itself can survive what's happening behind the scenes. When word leaked that Robert Downey Jr. was coming back to the MCU, fans lost their minds. For years, Marvel teased that Tony Stark's sacrifice in Endgame was permanent, the emotional heart of the Infinity Saga. That moment defined a generation of moviegoers. Bringing Downey back was supposed to be untouchable, but Marvel didn't bring him back as Iron Man. Instead, they cast him as Dr. Doom. The news spread like wildfire, and so did the outrage. Hashtags like #NotMyDoom and #MCUover trended within hours. For fans, this wasn't a clever twist. It was a betrayal. Downey's face wasn't supposed to be recycled like a prop. It wasn't about his acting ability. It was about meaning. Iron Man's death was sacred, and Marvel turned it into a gimmick. Industry insiders later admitted Disney expected applause, not outrage. Executives believed nostalgia alone would win fans back. Instead, they underestimated how fiercely people still clung to Tony Stark's sacrifice. And that miscalculation lit the fuse for what was to come. But fan outrage was only the beginning. As if the backlash wasn't enough, rumors quickly spread about tension on set between Robert Downey Jr. and Ryan Reynolds. Reynolds had just joined the project in a secret role, and insiders claim sparks flew immediately, but not the good kind. Whispers suggested creative clashes, clashing egos, and even a confrontation that brought filming to a halt. Fans began speculating online. Was Reynolds the mysterious actor feuding with Downey during Doomsday's production? Nothing was confirmed, but the smoke was impossible to ignore. With Marvel already facing a storm of fan anger, stories of cast drama only poured gasoline on the fire. And those clashes led straight into a disaster of their own. Reshoots that nearly broke the film in half. Insiders claim the original plan was simple. Let a stunt double wear the Doom suit while Downey recorded lines off camera. It was efficient, quick, and cheaper than keeping him in full costume for months. But Downey allegedly hated it. After 2 weeks of filming, he demanded they scrap everything and reshoot with him inside the armor. That decision cost Marvel millions. 3 full weeks of footage were thrown out, production halted, and deadlines stretched further out of reach. For Disney executives, this was a nightmare. Every extra day on set burned through cash, and every rumor of delays gave fuel to fans already calling the MCU dead. But as bad as reshoots were, things outside the set were unraveling even faster. While chaos swirled around Downey, another blow struck Marvel fans. Tom Holland's Spider-Man, once considered the centerpiece of the MCU's future, was suddenly nowhere to be found. No cameo, no mention, nothing. The official excuse? Scheduling conflicts. But fans weren't buying it. Marvel had teased Spider-Man's central role for years. Cutting him entirely didn't look like a conflict. It looked like surrender. Rumors spread that Holland himself wanted out, distancing his career from a franchise sinking in controversy. For audiences, this wasn't just a casting change. Spider-Man wasn't just another hero. He was the emotional bridge between generations of fans. Losing him sent one devastating message. If even Marvel's most bankable character could disappear, then nothing was safe. And losing Spider-Man was more than a casting shakeup. It was a symbol of something deeper. For over a decade, Marvel's greatest strength wasn't CGI or even its stars. It was trust. Fans believed every installment mattered. Every credit scene was a promise that the story would continue. That trust is now gone. Years of disappointing projects, from Eternals to the Marvels, had already shaken confidence. Disney Plus shows teased as essential viewing were abandoned or left unresolved. Fans who invested hours into storylines discovered they no longer connected to the movies. By the time Doomsday entered production, audiences weren't excited anymore. They were suspicious. Instead of cheering new announcements, fans rolled their eyes, convinced Marvel was baiting them with recycled tricks. And inside the industry, things looked even worse. Behind the scenes, Marvel's once feared reputation among visual effects studios was crumbling. For years, VFX artists complained about impossible deadlines, last-minute rewrites, and brutal crunch conditions. Now, some of those studios outright refused to work on Avengers Doomsday. The few who stayed behind described chaos. Entire CGI sequences had to be rebuilt from scraps of unfinished storyboards. Weeks of work were wasted as scripts changed mid-shoot. One artist bluntly admitted, "We were asked to fix a movie that didn't even have a story." When leaked images surfaced online, the disaster was undeniable. Characters floating awkwardly against green screens. Effects that looked less like a billion-dollar blockbuster and more like a video game cutscene. Fans mocked the footage, comparing it to early 2000s superhero films. But even the creative collapse wasn't the final blow. The financial panic sealed Marvel's fate. By early 2025, the numbers Disney executives were staring at weren't just concerning, they were terrifying. Production on Avengers Doomsday had already chewed through more than $300 million, and that was before factoring in the mountain of marketing costs still to come. Historically, Marvel blockbusters required another $200 to $250 million in global promotion. Ads, trailers, events, merchandise tie-ins. That meant Doomsday was on track to cost $500 million before a single ticket was sold. But the problem wasn't the price tag, it was the projections. Analysts ran the models, and the results looked catastrophic. Instead of the billion-dollar slam dunk Marvel once guaranteed, Doomsday was tracking closer to the Marvels, a movie that had bombed so hard in 2023 that it became shorthand for MCU failure. Early audience surveys showed fatigue, not excitement. Buzz wasn't building, it was collapsing. And every leak, every rumor of trouble on set, every angry fan hashtag pushed the numbers lower. Behind closed doors, panic spread at the highest levels of Disney. Bob Iger, who had returned to the CEO chair to steady the ship, was suddenly facing the nightmare scenario. The Marvel brand, once the studio's cash printing machine, was now a liability. Executives debated their options, but none of them looked good. Releasing the movie as planned risked turning Doomsday into a public disaster, a $500 million embarrassment that could poison the entire MCU. Delaying it meant sinking even more money into a project investors already saw as doomed, and quietly dumping it onto Disney Plus would only confirm what fans already suspected. The MCU's crown jewel had rusted, so they chose the option that seemed least deadly: silence. Insiders revealed that Disney froze promotional plans. No cast interviews, no teaser trailers, even merchandise development was put on hold. Normally, Marvel would have been flooding Comic-Con with logos, clips, and big announcements. Instead, there was nothing but a vacuum. And in Hollywood, silence doesn't mean safety, it means retreat. For investors, the silence was a red flag. Stockholders had banked on Doomsday to restore faith in Disney's film division, especially after the disastrous earnings following the Marvels and Quantumania. Instead, they were told to expect write-downs, cost-cutting, and a renewed focus on restructuring the franchise. In plain English, Marvel was no longer the golden goose. It was the sick bird Disney might have to put down. The most damning detail came from insiders who claimed Disney didn't just hit pause. They seriously considered pulling the plug altogether. Executives allegedly debated whether shelving the film outright would hurt less than watching it implode on release. The fear wasn't just losing money, it was destroying Marvel's brand value. A single spectacular failure could convince audiences once and for all that the MCU was finished. And for a studio built on perception, that was the ultimate nightmare. Which leaves us with one haunting question: was Doomsday canceled to save money or to save Marvel itself? Avengers. Doomsday was meant to be Marvel's rebirth. Instead, it became its funeral. The return of Robert Downey Jr. wasn't celebrated. It was seen as desperate. Spider-Man's absence wasn't forgiven. It was seen as betrayal. Visual effects weren't groundbreaking. They were mocked. And Disney's decision to cancel the film confirmed what fans already feared. The MCU's golden era is over. Some insiders whisper that maybe this collapse was necessary. Marvel grew too bloated, too comfortable, relying on the same formula. Maybe only a full-scale failure could force the studio to rebuild with real creativity. But for fans, that's little comfort. They don't see a rebirth. They see the empire that once ruled Hollywood crumbling in real time. There was a time when Marvel announcements felt like cultural holidays. Midnight premieres were packed. The logo itself guaranteed success. That time is gone. Now Marvel faces a battle bigger than any villain on screen. Not to save the multiverse, but to win back something money can't buy: the trust of its audience. And without that trust, no amount of superheroes can save the MCU. Please subscribe to What's Eat News for more videos like this.